My name is Farooq Bandali, and I'm the co-founder of Taqwa Media. Many of you in the audience know me already. So Taqwa Media is honored to present this book signing event at the Muslim Group of USA and Canada at this 32nd annual conference. Thank you for taking the time to join us, and thank you for the organizing team for taking all the efforts to make this event a possibility. Above all, thank you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq for us to all be here, and for the speakers to do the work that they're continuing doing. So we have two speakers lined for today. A few housekeeping points before we introduce our first speaker. We have been allocated, initially we were allocated 50 minutes. We were supposed to start at 2 and end at 2:50, and so now it's going to cut into that time. So the new rules are going to be 10-minute presentation and then a 3-minute Q&A for each speaker, and then we will each author will be seated. So on my left will be Dr. John Andrew Morrow, and then on the right will be Shaykh Rizwan. So you can just line up for those that want to purchase or get it signed and come to Shaykh Rizwan. We're also giving away a complimentary book, or Islamic Text Institute is also giving away a complimentary book, so that will be available there. So the first speaker for today, inshallah, will be Shaykh Rizwan Arastu. Many of you know him, so I will do a brief introduction of who he is. So in 1998, Shaykh Rizwan completed his undergraduate studies at Princeton University, where he received his bachelor's degree in ecology and evolutionary biology, along with the minors in Near Eastern studies and education. In 2000, Shaykh Rizwan moved to Qom, where he began his initial studies at the Hawza, and he was involved with a number of different studies of a number of different disciplines. After a number of years being there, he turned his attention to the study of the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad and the Imams. He memorized much of the Quran and began studying the famous Sunni exegesis. Thereafter, this class prepared him to attend the lectures and exegesis of Ayatollah Jawadi Amali. He also began a unique study of a number of hadith books, including Kitab al-Kafi. So in 2006, when Shaykh Rizwan moved back to the US, in conjunction with several of his teachers, he established an organization called Islamic Text Institute, and he is presently the executive director, researcher, and translator at ITI. ITI is a non-for-profit organization, research institute that makes Islamic primary resources available to non-specialist readers through outstanding translation and original commentary. So the purpose of ITI's commentary is to guide the non-specialists through these texts. Since inception, ITI set its sight on translation and commentary of Al-Kafi by Shaykh al-Kulaini, especially the first 8 of the 35 books known as Usul al-Kafi. To date, ITI has published the first 2 of these books, Intellect and Foolishness and Knowledge and Its Merits. You're probably seeing them on the table there. He has a number of other publications, and some of his other notable publications includes God's Emissaries, Adam to Jesus. So we're really here today to speak about Shaykh Rizwan. So before I go there, he's actually going to be doing a talk on Islamic literacy and the organization that he has established in 2014. Both my wife and I are students of him through Islamic literacy, and it's been a phenomenal learning journey to be his students. So I wanted to let you all know about that presentation that's happening. So today we're really here talking about Shaykh Rizwan's leading the 4th publication of ITI, which is a salute to the Master of Martyrs, a commentary on Ziyarat Ashur. So Ziyarat Ashur is arguably the most famous and oft-recited of the ziyarah or salutations to God's infallible guides. It is the epitome of the genre of ziyarah and has always been a mainstay in the daily liturgy of Shia scholars and worshippers, as Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, please recite salawat, especially intended when he taught to his disciples. This commentary attempts to uncover the theological, historical, and spiritual underpinnings of this outstanding ziyarah. Please welcome Shaykh Rizwan to the podium with your loudest salawat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Muhammad wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we began in ITI working on this commentary on Ziyarat Ashura. We wanted to we've been trying to tackle, in addition to Kitab al-Kafi, which is really our mainstay that we've been working on since day one, we've been working on some of these other texts in parallel. So we have Dua Nudba, and now this Ziyarat Ashura. We're working on Dua Kumail as well. And so we thought it's important to use the same methodology that we use for Hadith through Al-Kafi, use the same methodology to try to understand these du'as, not just with a translation. So the idea behind the whole work is that a translation by itself, however good it may be, it's not sufficient, especially for a non-specialist. And honestly, even specialists rely heavily on the commentaries of previous scholars. So Al-Kafi, for instance, has 15 major commentaries that we have still with us. And so our scholars are, of course, it'd be foolish not to benefit from someone like Allama Majlisi, who has a 26-volume Mir'atul Uqul commentary on Al-Kafi. And so that's the most comprehensive commentary that we have. So even scholars themselves, my point is, rely on the commentaries and the views of past scholars. We start with that, so you don't reinvent the wheel. And then you add and you change and you refute and all of that, so it becomes a springboard for new ideas to come out of those same traditions. And so if scholars need that, then of course our non-specialists definitely need that. So that you're reading the text, you're engaged, but you're also guided through the process, so that the conclusions that you draw, they're conclusions that are in line with the rest of our understanding of the deen. So you end up with a coherent whole. If you see one hadith, one part of the ziyarah, one part of a dua that seems to contradict other things that you know, then that's where we'll step in and say, yes, it does contradict, so we'll throw it out for these reasons, or no, it doesn't contradict. Here's a way to understand it where it can fit into everything else and enhance our understanding rather than being in contradiction in actuality. Ziyarat Ashura is more famous than needs mention, but it's a ziyarah that is given to us by the fifth Imam. And it is typical in many ways of the ziyarat. So we have a lot of the same elements. The tawalli and tabarri is the major theme. Tawalli is pulling close and drawing close to everything that's godly and good. Tabarri is distancing yourself and disavowing whatever is evil and against God. So you constantly see that. Abra'u ilallah, atawalla. You constantly see those phrases used in the ziyarah. That also gives us an idea of the placement of salah on the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt and la'an on their enemies. And that also is a manifestation of that same principle of tawalli, drawing close, and tabarri, distancing yourself, both of which are essential parts of faith. Right? Love and hatred, love for all that's good and hatred for all that's bad, they're both equally important to get closer to Allah. We can't just simply say Islam's a loving religion, it's a peaceful religion, let's just love everyone and not hate anyone. Right? That's not in line with the teachings that we get from the Ahlul Bayt. And so the ziyarah really manifests that and gives us both sides of the coin. I'm going to read a quick excerpt, and then at the end we can have some questions according to the program. This is an excerpt. So we have one phrase in the ziyarah that's, again, oft repeated in ziyarat, where we refer to the Imam as Yabna Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka Yabna Rasulullah. Peace be with you, O son of the Messenger of God. So Imam Hussein, of course, is the grandson of the Prophet through Lady Fatima, not technically the son of the Prophet. So that raises a question. So we jumped in and we said, let's try to understand why is he called Yabna Rasulullah, and what's the significance of it? Why can't we say, oh, grandson of the Prophet? Why do you have to say son of the Prophet? So in Arabic, words such as ibn, son, bint or daughter, walad, and dhurriya refer to one's immediate son and daughter, as well as more distant male and female progeny, such as grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So technically, in Arabic, I'm the son of my grandfather. I'm the son of Adam. Right? We can say that. I can say Yabna Adam to refer to anyone, any human being, and that's correct in Arabic. While in English, poetically it does make sense, but technically it doesn't make sense. More significantly, in the Quran and the traditions, these words are used equally to refer to all of one's progeny, whether through one's son or one's daughter. In other words, one's daughter's son is as much one's progeny as one's son's son. So we're talking to an Arabic audience. The Quran, the Prophet is speaking to a Jahili audience where it's patriarchal. The only thing that matters is male ancestors. Your female ancestors are nothing. Your women in your family are nothing in that society. And so now a point is being made that despite the fact that Hussein is related to the Prophet only through his mother, that doesn't make him any less the son of the Prophet. So there are a couple of verses 6, 84, and 85 name Jesus as one of the progeny, one of the dhurriya of either Noah or Abraham, depending on the pronoun, when his relation to both was clearly through only his mother, since he was fatherless. So Jesus is one of the dhurriya of Nuh, but his relation to Nuh is through his mother. Right? So the word is, so we cited that as an example that the Quran uses, and one other example as well. Then we said that this Islamic usage stands in stark contrast to the usage of these words during the age of ignorance, before the advent of Islam. Arabs of that era would only consider their sons to be their progeny, not their daughters' sons. The famous couplet says, "Banuna banu abna'ina, wa banatuna banuhunna abna'ur rijal al-aba'idi." Our sons are our sons' sons. Our daughters' sons are the sons of other men. Right? That was the Jahili attitude towards your daughters. They don't belong to you. They get married off. They belong to someone else. And their children are someone else's, not yours. Your true descendants are only through your son. Hypocrites who held personal vendettas against the Prophet's family reverted to the former usage of words such as ibn and bint, rejecting the Islamic usage, at least with regard to the Prophet's progeny. What follows are three illustrative examples. So one of the things that we tried to do in the commentary was to use history and historical records to try to help us to understand some of these things. So when you say Yabna Rasulullah, you're actually protesting Muawiyah. You're actually protesting the whole Umayyad propaganda, which was to say the Prophet is abtar. Right? The Quran rejects this as inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. You're the one who is against you. He's the one who's abtar, not you, O Prophet. But now these people are saying, no, you're actually abtar, you have no children, he died with no progeny, and these kinds of things. So they're going against the Quran. We, as saying Yabna Rasulullah to Imam Hussein, are protesting them. So let's bring that to light through this one tradition. So Dhakwan, Muawiyah's servant, reported that Muawiyah once threatened that if I learn of anyone referring to these two men, meaning Hassan and Hussein, as the sons of the Messenger of God, I shall punish him severely. So even calling Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein the two sons of the Prophet was a crime against Muawiyah, against the state. Right? He wanted to eradicate that thought. Don't even say that because it sends a wrong image. Instead, refer to them as the sons of Ali. They're his sons, not the Prophet's sons. Dhakwan said, after he issued this edict, he ordered me to enter his own children's names in Ash-Sharaf, which we explained was some sort of a ledger that included all, like a census of some sorts. So I entered the names of his sons and his sons' sons, but I left out his daughter's sons. I don't know if you're able to follow. So Muawiyah has said that you can't refer to Hassan and Hussein as the sons of the Prophet, but now he's telling his servant to record all the names of everyone in my family. And so the servant comes and he only includes, based on the reasoning of Muawiyah, he only includes Muawiyah's sons as part of his family. Muawiyah's daughter's sons he doesn't include. I brought the ledger to him. He looked through it and scolded me, saying, "Fie on you! You have left out some of my progeny." I asked him, whom? He said, "Are the sons of so-and-so," mentioning one of his daughters, "not my sons? Are the sons of this other daughter of mine not my sons?" Dhakwan says, I told him, "Really? Are your daughter's sons to be your sons, but Fatima's sons are not to be the sons of the Messenger of God?" And Muawiyah's response is, "What is wrong with you? Don't let anyone hear you say such a thing." Right? So it brings out a double standard, and the fact that they had this policy that they're trying to implement, even their own courtiers, their own internal mechanism, they themselves see the double standards, and sometimes they call this to their attention. So that's an example of the commentary. The text itself of the ziyarah is also there. So basically the book has one section where it's just the Arabic and the translation, and then following that, then the text is repeated, but then with commentary, footnotes, to explain everything, and especially to give a lot of historical context, because we have, of course, the Latins that are always a subject of a lot of confusion for people. Why so much calling down of God's damnation on people? So we really devoted a lot of time and effort to try to understand the concept, and then once we understood the concept theoretically, to understand why these individual people who are mentioned in the ziyarah are deserving of such a condemnation. And so we went into a lot of history of their background and things that they had done, things they've said, what they really stood for, and why that's now deserving of God's condemnation. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.